take this topic and start a project, but you don't actually know how to begin. You don't even know where to begin from. And you're still wondering, what is the importance of this research at all? What is the importance of this research at all? So don't worry. So today we'll dive into some overview of the importance of academic research, how to find resources. You'll be guided through how to find resources in the previous days, in the next days to come. Then we'll have a workshop where you'll be given research papers for you to try and figure out how you can get the research topic, research gap, conclusion, and maybe tell us something small about the research paper given to you. So don't worry if you don't know how to do it now, but at the end of the 3-day workshop, you would be able to. Also, do you have plans to make a positive impact on the world? If you have plans to do that, then I think you are at the right place. The little advice you'll pick up and skills you'll pick up from here will be able to guide you to make a positive impact on the world. So as I said earlier, you can take a minute or two to write down your expectations in the chat box. I'll have a read at it and we will continue from there. Few things to note before I start the main presentation. The information that will be provided here, or the information that will be given here at this workshop, is not exhaustive. That is, there are millions of information out there. My work here today is to try and shed light on some of these information you find online. So they are not pretty much exhaustive. I'm trying to guide you, help you to find much information. So take this workshop as a stepping stone to find more information about whichever topic you'll be given, or about how to start academic research, report writing, and presentation. Things I'm sharing here, some of you might have seen them already. Some of you too will now be starting to get a grip on whatever will be discussed here. Also, most of the things I'll be sharing here are based on my personal journey as I work with people. I've accrued a lot of experiences and I'll share some with you along the way. And also, let us get interactive. You will notice early on in my presentation, one importance of academic research will be collaboration. So right from the go, let us be collaborative, let us get interactive. And if anyone asks a question, the opportunity will be given for you to add your opinion to the question. So let us do our best possible to be interactive, and let's make this presentation fun. Also, if you want to ask any question, you can either put your hand up or you can either put a question in the chat box. Whichever way, you'll be given the opportunity to ask your question. And if you want to make a contribution, to be given the opportunity to make a contribution. So in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to share with you something small. So let's get right into the presentation. So this is the first day of the presentation, and as I've stated earlier, you get a brief overview of what an academic research is, report writing, and presentation as well. And it is always important to have some objectives or know the importance of any activity you intend to do. So here today, we want to delve into academic research. Why must we even start an academic research? Why? We should know the relevance. We should know the impact the work we are going to begin will have on the world. This information is not exhaustive. I'll give you just four of that. But this four actually entails a lot. So one, expansion of knowledge. That is one importance of academic research. How will an academic research expand your knowledge? So by conducting an academic research, you would be able to discover, discover and find gap between others' research. So by trying to discover, find gaps between others' research, you are able to expand your knowledge or scope within whichever field that you find yourself. And that is one reason why we should engage ourselves in academic research. Two, innovation and progress. So with this, anytime you have an academic research, it is either you are trying to improve someone else's work or you are trying to make a discovery. Sometimes the objective of the academic research is not to discover something new, but once you begin to conduct the research, you realize that you are venturing into a new field and find yourself making new discoveries. That is why it's important to do academic research. Also, you try to review others' work. Then you try to find gaps within their work. Once you find gap within their work, you try to improve upon whatever research they've done already. Then that one becomes yours. Three, collaboration and network. Most often, academic research leads us to meet a lot of people. Through meeting people and discussing that particular research topic or research interest with them, you are able to share ideas as to how to solve that particular problem. And this leads to collaboration and network. So you'll be able to network, collaborate with like-minded people in your particular research area, which will lead to undertaking meaningful or successful research that will have a positive impact on the world. And also peer review and quality control. So with peer review and quality control, we are all aware that a lot of people have already conducted research. You can find millions of research papers online. People also do research paper reviewing. They actually don't start an academic research, but they pick already existing research papers and try to improve upon them. So you have to peer review people research papers, try to validate the data they have in there by replicating whichever method they use in putting out that academic research. All these will expand your knowledge. You might even discover new ideas. Then you've made progress. Then once you contact the person whose work you have reviewed and made changes to, it will lead to collaboration. And who knows, you might win an NSF grant, that's the National Science Foundation grant, and others. And you might have also improved the quality of that academic research in that particular research field or area. So these are not exhaustive, but something to jog your memory. So now that you have learned the importance of starting academic research, you are going to dive into how to actually start one. So now you know the importance. How do you start one? So one, you will have to choose a topic. Yeah. sometimes choosing a topic doesn't come immediately at the beginning of starting an academic research. It doesn't come immediately, but ideally that's the first step to start there, to choose a topic, right? So if yours is not choosing a topic, but you only have the idea, so you communicate the idea with someone or you write the idea down, then through working out the idea, you would be able to come up with a suitable research topic. So whichever topic or idea you have, you put it down. And that is the first step. And secondly, you can review existing literature. So what do I mean by reviewing existing literature? People have already done the work you would want to do, maybe in a particular field, but you seem to try to improve that particular field. So what you do, you pick existing literature, then you review them. In this workshop, you'll be taking through how to review existing literature. So you pick the literature, you review. Once you are reviewing them, you are trying to find gaps. When I say gaps, and maybe certain things they missed or certain questions, research questions that hasn't been well addressed or well answered. So you look for all these gaps, all these research questions, and you try to use the available resources you have to solve them. So point two and point three go hand in hand. So once you are trying to review existing literature, in a way, you are trying to find a gap within that research paper. Point four. So after you have reviewed the research paper and identify the gap, you are supposed to choose a particular research method that you use to tackle that research gap or research problem. So whether you want to go purely computational, purely analytical, or experimental, in choosing a method, in choosing a method, you are actually trying to find a way to solve the problem that you have. Please, William Bruni, can you mute yourself? It's like, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. So with the research method, you can either go purely analytical, computational, or experimental. So you choose the right method that work with what you intend to achieve at the end of your research. And then 5, you have to develop a research plan. So with this, you have to draft the necessary timeline that it will take for you to accomplish your research. So from day one, what you are going to do from day one to the end of the research. Maybe your research will involve some form of data collection. You are supposed to have that data collection, where and when to collect the data, and even how often you are going to collect the data. It's very, very important. And the timelines. So the month in which you are executing tasks. So once you have these kind of timelines, they are able to guide you through each phase of the research, right? They're able to guide you through each phase of the research. And at the end of the day, you would come up with what? A successful research. Then finally, when all is said and done, you would have to communicate and publish your findings to others. You would have to let others see your work, be able to validate your work and add on. Since in research, you are trying to expand knowledge. So if you expand your knowledge, others are supposed to benefit from the knowledge. Then at large, your your work should be able to have an impact on the world. So you will have to, it is very necessary to communicate and publish. And to communicate and publish, there are various ways in which you can do that. There are peer research publications that you can actually publish your work or communicate your work. And you cannot, there's no only one way to communicate or publish your work. So you can do that through poster presentations, and those in KUST, especially those in College of Sciences and a few engineering departments, undertake poster presentation, and a few of them also try to publish their work. Some also defend their work in front of a panel. Yeah, they are all forms of communicating to publish your work, let others know about your work. Okay, so now we know the importance of academic research, we know how to start. So things are beginning to get intense here. So now I'm sure by now you're asking yourself that where do I even get these research papers? So there are a lot of sources. So the ones I've listed here are just a few. There are a lot of sources. So Google Scholar is the most famous. Google Scholar is the most famous. Most often we get our research paper from Google Scholar. And there is ResearchGate. So ResearchGate is also there. You get both paid and free research papers. Today I'll just mention the sources. Then tomorrow we will get our hands dirty where I'll show you how to get the research papers. Then there's PubMed. So those in the health sciences and the rest. PubMed will interest you a lot. PubMed will interest you a lot because you get most of your research papers relating to the health field. Yeah. Also, Science Direct. Science Direct is quite large, and most schools have subscriptions. So you would have to check with your department whether they have subscription to Science Direct. Once they have a subscription, you can get a lot of research papers for free over there in Science Direct. So you should do well to check that as well. Then the IEE Explore. So this one, the fifth point is mostly for electrical engineering students, telecommunication, computer engineering students. You mostly find most of your research papers over there pertaining to your field. Then institutional libraries. So institutional libraries, most institutional libraries also have, let's say, access to a lot of research papers. Some have them in hard copy and in soft copy, so you can check with your appropriate institutional libraries to get it. I think those in KUST library, they have access to a lot of research papers that once you communicate with them, whoever is in charge, you'll be able to get access to some of these research papers. Yeah. So at this point, I would like to take one or two questions. Then we shall continue to report writing and presentation. Okay. Francis Sam, I've seen you raised up your hand. So you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, so I would like to ask, see, sometimes when you search for a paper, you don't get access to it. Is there any way that you can use to get a paper? For example, we have SCI Hub. You just copy the DOI and paste it over there, then you get the paper. So I would like to know if there is another way to get
Yeah.
the paper.
Okay, thank you for your question. SciHub is one way to get free research papers, and the other way is to check with your institution whether they have access to that paper. So most institutions have access to research papers. Maybe they've bought subscriptions, yeah, for over a year or two. So once, for instance, if you are trying to register an account with Science Direct and you use your institutional email, so if I say institutional email, the email ending with, let's say, kunst.edu.gh, that's an institutional email. Once you register an account with, let's say, Science Direct, and KUST has purchased a subscription with Science Direct, then automatically you will be able to access paid research papers from Science Direct. That is one. Aside that, in SciHub, then you would have to pay for that particular research paper if you don't have a subscription. But one thing with SkyHub is that most recent research papers do not are not there for free. The most recent papers and research papers are not for free, but I mean older versions of the research papers are mostly available for free. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Okay. Aside that, anybody with any contribution to make at this point before we continue? Oh, you are making me do all the talking. Okay, no problem. Also, one key thing to add. If, okay, I think there's a question in the chat box. Let me try and read the question out. Someone says that please could you briefly explain to us the copyright terms of such research papers? Which research paper are you talking about in particular? Can you unmute yourself and try to explain your question to me? Then I'll be able to help with because your question looks like a little bit vague. Frederick, could you elaborate on what you are trying to ask? Frederick, are you with us? Hello, Frederick. Okay, I understand. Okay, are you okay? Just give me a confirmation in the chat. Are you trying to say? Are you trying to talk about the research papers we get from SkyHub for free? So are you trying to say whether you have copyright issues with the research paper you get from SkyHub? If that is the case, okay, that's no. What are you talking about? Is it the institutional, the one we get from the institution through institutional subscriptions? Are you talking about the one we get from the institution, the institutions? Okay. So whichever way or wherever you source your information from, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to cite that particular work in your work. Let's say you pick a um, sustainable energy systems and you are working on how to use biodiesels in cars. What you are supposed to do is that you are supposed to cite the paper sustainable use of renewable sources of energy in your work, how to use biodiesel as fuels in cars. I think that's what you are supposed to do. That so far as you are able to cite the person's work in your work, then you will have no issues with copyright. Okay. Please, how can Francis, I hope I've answered your question. Is it Francis? Frederick, I hope I've answered your question. Once you cite the research paper, you wouldn't have any problem with copyright. Yeah, okay. So next question, please, how can you reduce plagiarism during the writing of the paper? So yeah, a very good question. Most often when we are trying to source for information from others' work in our own work, we tend to copy everything verbatim. Maybe just do a copy and paste, then we maybe use Killbot or something to maybe paraphrase a bit. That is actually the wrong way of sourcing from information. You read the idea in whichever work you are trying to source the information from. Then now you write it in your own words, right? So you don't have to do the direct copy and paste. Even if you do the direct copy and paste and nobody is able to identify that it is a direct copy and paste, one day you intend to publish your paper, you send a particular publication and they use Turnitin or any other plagiarism source to run through your paper. They will be able to detect that you've plagiarized someone else's work. So one way to reduce plagiarism is to try and fish out the idea you want from the person's work, then try to write it out in your own words. Yeah, that is the best way, because you're supposed to produce an original work and you're not supposed to replicate others' work. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, no question. Okay, Francis.
Okay. So I would like to know how will you know that the paper that you've gotten is a good paper from the site?
Okay,
How?
okay. So, assuming you visit my Google Scholar and I have quite a number of research papers, yeah, assuming I have quite a number of research papers published on my Google Scholar account, you would see when you click on each of my research paper, you see the number of citations I've gotten for that particular week, right? So if my citation index is quite high, then it is proving that people are liking my research work, and it is showing that I have a good number of research integrity or a good number of important information that people are getting from my research paper. So that's one way. And the second way is to take a look at the abstract of the research paper. What your work is to try and validate the person's abstract. Maybe the method the person is describing. Is the person describing the correct method? Remember that that research work, maybe that research area will not be the first time someone is attempting to address anything in that particular research field. So yours is to validate that particular research paper with other research works to see whether at least there are some matching information, and it will be easier for you to fish out the contradicting research paper. So once you realize that, you can discard it. But the best way is to look at the citation index. So if the citation index is quite high, then it means that that kind of research paper is proven to be worth it. And I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay. So someone is asking, in testing for the percentage of plagiarism, is it that is it that is it the idea they detect or just the verbatim? So it is not the idea. They don't detect the idea. So what they are trying to detect is whether you copied word for word what someone has written in your research paper. The idea is there, but how you work around the idea is really important. Yours is not to copy someone's research work into yours. And sometimes the idea will be there. When you try to replicate the person's idea, it doesn't become an original work of yours. This time round, your research title will become a review of maybe using biodiesel as. So in that sense, where you try to replicate someone else's idea, it becomes a review paper. It's like you have reproduced the same thing, and it is serving as what a validation. So you are trying to validate the person's work, and it doesn't become an original work. You only always give credit to the original author of that paper. So your work becomes a review, and you're supposed to cite wherever you got your information from into that work. Abdul Rahman, I hope I've answered your question. Okay, correct. because you are using a free version of the Google Meet, in I think in less than 10 minutes, our meeting is going to end, but you will have to rejoin the meeting again with the same link. Yeah. Joshua, what should we do now? Should we let them leave and join again with a new link so that we would?
Okay, for now, I would say we should complete this session, and then I think I'm going to send the attendance form so they fill before we leave, and then come back for the next session.
Okay, so they send the attendance sheets around. So the next section will be on them. The next section will be on report writing and presentation skills. So that's the next section. So Joshua, you can send us the attendance sheet so that they will then they will leave and rejoin for the next session. So please be on the lookout for the attendance form. I think in the chat area, yeah, in the chat area. So yeah, the attendance form is in the chat area. Please do what to fill the attendance form before you leave. So once you are done, you leave. Then you join again when it's 5 p.m. for the next session. Start academic research. One of the 6 ways that you can start an academic research, we learned that we are supposed to communicate and publish our ideas. That's why it's necessary for us to dive right into report writing and presentation skills. So there are various forms of academic reports. When it comes to the report writing, there are various forms, but notably there are about like 3 of them that we mostly encounter in research fields. And one is the thesis or dissertation. So with the thesis and dissertation, they are mostly a requirement for degrees, either a BSc, MSc, or a PhD. They are mostly a requirement. So when it comes to the thesis, it mostly entails the actual work you did. It's like you become the first author of that particular thesis or dissertation, and mostly it could be done by an individual or a group of students, maybe a number of them, tackling a research. And the structure of dissertation or thesis varies from school to school, but basically the ideas are the same in the sense that you would include some abstract, some introduction. Then with that, you have an extensive literature review in the thesis or dissertation. You have an extensive literature review. So you try to review some literature pertaining to your work. Then you would have a detailed research method used. Yeah, when it comes to the dissertation and thesis, you have a detailed research method. Then you have the results
I didn't.
After the results, then there is some conclusion. Sorry, there's a discussion, then the conclusion. Then you list, I think, all the references you used in that particular dissertation. Sometimes it's a bit bulky at the end of the dissertation. Since it's an original work, it's a bit bulky and contains a lot. Then two manuscripts. So what are manuscripts? Manuscripts are just, let's say, a summary of one's thesis or dissertation. So after you had your thesis or dissertation presented to the school, and you intend to
You can't wait.
more or
I'm
less
about to.
publish your idea in international journals or
So lower it
journals
before you
for
go, or
others to
you
be
already
able to
lowered it.
find your work and read, you would
Already
have to
lowered it.
put
Already lowered
out
it.
a summary of what you did out there. And manuscripts also come with some sets of formats, and there are do's and don'ts regarding how to there are do's and don'ts regarding how to come out with a manuscript from a thesis or a dissertation. So tomorrow we will go into the various sections of a manuscript and how to review them. So that will be what we'll be doing tomorrow. Then tell you we have the abstract for conferences. Mostly you'll be working on a research project in your lab, but you wouldn't be done yet. But there is an impending conference that you will need to present your work. The idea is that you're not going to present the entirety of the work. You are going to present the portion, the idea, the understanding of where the work has got into in order to secure more funds to continue with whichever project you are undertaking. And abstracts come in hand with that. So with abstract, it is very, very short. And mostly the word limits I've seen is about 300 word limits. It mostly the idea is that your abstract should contain the results of your work.
Ah,
Create and beautiful designs with Canva. You can either download it and install it on your laptop. You can even use Canva on your phone. It's seamless. You can even use it on your phone. You can use it natively. When I say natively, you can download it to your phone or you can use it online. You just need a Google account to register or maybe a few logins. And there's draw.io. I think most of you will not be familiar with draw.io. If you want to create diagrams for your presentation, maybe you've seen a diagram in a research paper and you want to use that diagram in your work. The first thing most that comes to mind for us to do is to try and screenshot that diagram and use the exact same diagram in our work. I think most of us have been doing that. Who hasn't done some before? Put your hands up if you've not done some before. But I'm sure most of you have done some before. You will try to screenshot the diagram in that particular research paper and try to use the same thing in a research paper. It's not advisable. Yeah, it also works. You can also use Beamer